sports. It's in the game.
Okay, good job, mate. Really, really well done. That was a fantastic drive. Bring it home.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves once again of our top three. Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. In pole position then, it's McLaren, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Gasly, Sainz, Russell, Tsunoda, Bottas, Liam Lawson, Ocon, Albon, Stroll, Sargent, Ricciardo, Perez, Joe, Doohan, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please. DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone. Well done, mate. Well done. That's a great finish. You've really stepped up and achieved what we asked you to do today, so good job.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a good result for Lando Norris, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow where we'll be live with all the action. And until then, goodbye. Welcome to this visit to the Ardennes countryside. Spa-Francorchamps hosted its first Grand Prix back in 1925, and this historic track is loved by drivers and fans alike, and us here in the commentary box too. So it's a warm welcome from the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps then, a historic 19-corner circuit with a lap distance of 4.35 miles. There's over 100 metres of elevation change here, and with long stretches of the lap spent flat out, a good top speed will be vital for success. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. In pole position then, it's McLaren. Edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Sainz, Russell, Gasly, Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Bottas, Albon, Ocon, Sargent, Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll, Doohan, Joe, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Anthony Davidson is alongside me, as usual, for today's race. We should talk about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down. Job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far. so we're leading our teammate by 22.2 seconds. Okay, final lap. Let's go. Final lap. That's 3 wins in a row, mate. Unbelievable work.
Have pulled it off. They've won in spectacular fashion here today. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm very happy to see them there on that top step of the podium. And now let's take a look at the drivers' standings. Well, it wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant? Let's move on to the constructors. McLaren continue